Good morning, BookTube. This is Johnny. Time to make a video here on it's kind of grayish, cloudy, wet, rainy Sunday morning here in West Michigan. It's June the 3rd. It is 8:43 in the morning here. And I thought I'd make a video because I've been mentioning about the used books I have acquired from the Book Nook and from local thrift stores. I haven't, when there are local thrift stores around where we live. I go there every week and look for used books. And when we're out doing errands, my wife and I, if there's a thrift store, we stop and I look. So these are the books. Like for example, last night I went to a local thrift store and I found these used books. Let me see. There's a local Goodwill, and I told my wife I'm just gonna go get it out of my system before the end of the week. So I drove up the Goodwill, just a few minutes from where we live. And this is what I found. I collect the writings of Mark Helprin, and I found A Soldier of the Great War, a novel by his. And this is a hardback. I already had a paperback edition of this novel. And so now I can take the paperback to the Book Nook tomorrow when I volunteer at the library used bookstore. So, and I found a perfect hardback edition. It's not even been written in. It's not a library withdrawal. Clean text. This came out in 1991. So I got that. And then I found a hardback edition of Hunter S. Thompson, Generation of Swine, Gonzo Papers, Volume 2, Tales of Shame and Degradation in the 80s. As you know, I've been reading two books, the writings of Hunter S. Thompson and another book. I went downstairs and looked at my Hunter S. Thompson collection. I had 3 volumes, 3 editions of Generation of Swine, Gonzo Papers, Volume 2, Tales of Shame and Degradation in the 80s by Hunter S. Thompson. I had 3 paperbacks of this. Whenever I see a Hunter S. Thompson book, I just buy it, even though I might have it, because I like the covers, I like his writings. So now I have a hardback edition. As you can see, by my bookmarker, I read some of this last night. Gonzo Papers, Generation of Swine. And then I never heard of this writer. Her name is Jean Thompson. This is a National Book Award finalist. The Witch and Other Tales Retold. It says here in the flap, great fairy tales are not always stories designed for children. The Lurking Wolf and Little Red Riding Hood, the gingerbread house that lures Hansel and Gretel, the beauty asleep in her castle. These fables represent some of our deepest, most primal fears and satisfy our longings for good to win out over evil, preferably in the most gruesome way possible. In this captivating new collection, critically acclaimed author Jean Thompson takes the classic fairy tale and brings it into the modern age with stories that capture the magic and horror in everyday life. The downtrodden prevail, appearance deceived, humility and virtue triumphed in the witch as lost children try to find their way home, Adults cursed by past unspeakable acts are fated to experience their own horror in the present, and true love, or is it enchantment, conquers all. So it was only 90 cents. It looked kind of interesting, so I got that. And then I found this paperback, The Painted Bird by Jerzy Kosinski. I can't pronounce his name. Anyway, I collect his writings. I didn't have this one. This is considered his most popular, The Painted Bird by Jerzy Kosinski. And I found this novel by Milan Kundera, The Immortality. I had this in old paperback, and I found a hardback edition of it for $1. It's perfect text. It's not been written in. Has a nice slipcover. So I got those last night. And then I got these books at the Book Nook. Yesterday I got from the Book Nook. No, it was Friday. I picked up this book, The Impulse Society, America in the Age of Instant Gratification by Paul Roberts. And then I picked up this book at the Book Nook, Cod, a biography of the fish that changed the world by Mark Kurlansky. I already had his book, Salt, by this guy who wrote Cod. I had this in our library already. So I got that. And then I picked up this novel, historical novel on King David, Geraldine Brooks, The Secret Chord. And that's what I picked up at the Book Nook that I can remember. Then I picked these up at Salvation Army last week. I showed you the S.J. Perlman, The Rising Gorge. This is my J.C. Pearl, not J, S.J. Perlman collection. Like I said, he wrote for the New Yorker for many years. These are like, he was a humorist. He wrote for the New Yorker. He wrote for The Holiday. He wrote for he did screenplays and Broadway plays, and in his day he was a very famous American humorist. And so I can add this to my S.J. Perlman collection. Then I picked up at Salvation Army 31 Days, Gerald Ford, The Nixon Pardon and the Government in Crisis by Barry Worth. And I picked up this novel by the British writer David Lodge. I collect him. I have a lot of his novels. Out of the Shelter. And then I picked up Kingsley Ames's, he was another British comic writer, One Fat Englishman by Kingsley Ames. And then I picked up this, I never heard of this writer. This is her debut. I like vintage contemporaries. If I see a vintage contemporaries at a used book sale or a thrift store, I'll look at it. I'm not saying I always will buy it, but they tend to be worth looking at. And this is The Colorist by Susan Delich. It says here is a dazzlingly, eloquently funny, multi-layered novel by one of the most imaginative young writers to emerge from the postmodern New York. The Colorist is the story of Julie, who makes her living filling in the panels of a comic book, of Electra, a displaced comic book heroine, of Iman, Julia's maddeningly elusive lover who flies in and out of her life photographing crime and violence only to become the victim of paranoia and crisis himself, and finally of the gifted and felonious inhabitants of the urban shadowland where art and commerce intersect. The Colorist by Susan Delitzsch. Then I found this biography of the life of J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was, I think, the father of the atomic bomb. The American Prometheus, The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer by Kaylee Bird and Martin J. Sherwin, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Then I picked up a novel by Deborah Levy, The Unloved. I have coming in the mail a volume of her earlier novels, 3 in a volume, and one of them was The Unloved. But anyway, now I have 2 copies, but I found this. And then I found Douglas Brinkley, The Quiet World, The Saving of Alaska's Wilderness, 1879 to 1960. Chaos, Making a New Science by James Gaelic. And then I found this novel by Shaman Rushdie, Joseph Atten, a memoir. I also found another novel by Salman Rushdie, 2 years, 8 months, and 28 nights. I collect his writings. I have a huge stack of him. I used to read Rushdie many years ago, but I collect his writings if I see them. And then I found a biography of the uncommon woman, the Empress Frederica, the daughter of Queen Victoria, the wife of the Crown Prince of Prussia, mother of Kaiser Wilhelm, by Hannah Pukala. So these are the used books I found last week at thrift stores mainly. Like I said, I just go out. If I'm doing an errand, I'll stop at a thrift store and look around, and usually I find something. Now some weeks I might find nothing. Some weeks I find a lot of books. I have this book already, The Quiet World by Douglas Brinkley. I'll take this to the Book Nook tomorrow. I also got these at thrift stores, which I had already. I should mention them. Nancy Mitford, Love in a Cold Climate. I got this at a thrift store. Take it to the Book Nook. I have the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Kosinski. This is an abridgment. I'll probably keep this because I have the unabridged edition. This is by Roberto Bellino, The Returned. I already have this. I got this at the store last week. I'll take this to the Book Nook. This is Absurdistan by Gary Shteyngart. I already have this. I didn't know it. I got it at a thrift store this week, last week. Take it to the Book Nook. And I had this novel by Gregory David Roberts, Shantaram. I already had this. I got it at a thrift store last week. I'll take this to the Book Nook. So tomorrow, I will take these books to the Book Nook, the library used book sale, since I already have them. So it's amazing what you find at thrift stores. And we live in a small Midwestern town. It's not a major city. It's not a major town. Just small little city sitting on Lake Michigan. It always amazes me what I find. I mean, I find so many good books. And of course, I do go to the Book Nook. We get a lot of, like I was at the Book Nook Friday, and the woman in charge of the Book Nook said that a professor donated, he taught German language and German literature, and he died, and there are 20 boxes of books, and maybe I'll find some German translations of famous German writers. She said that I could look through the boxes and as they go through them. So I might find some good classic German literature that's not in German but in English. So you never know what you find at the Book Nook. So as far as my diary this morning, I'm on page 431. We are in the new week. Tomorrow is a Monday. Tomorrow I volunteer at the Book Nook, library used bookstore. So yeah, life goes by. So I hope you had a good weekend. Hope you have a good week. I don't know if my wife goes back to work tomorrow night. I don't know what I'll talk about. I might do Monday reads, what I've been reading, what I plan to read throughout this week. This week, as I said, we'll be taking care of our youngest grandchild, Coralie, who I think is now 11 weeks old. So Papa and Nani will be very busy with Coralie for 5 or 6 days. That should be fun. And in 2 weeks, our son Josiah and his wife Hannah and their little baby girl Marika will be visiting us. And then end of the month, our daughter will be coming with her family, Andy, Louisa, and Margaret, and Jack. And so, yeah, life goes on. So I'll sign off, take these books down at the lower level. I don't know what I'll read today. I did get out to read John, interpreted by early medieval commentator, something like that. I can't remember the full title. So I'll sign off. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the new subscribers. People come and go. That's fine. I'm here just because I'm a book lover. So, bye.